See what we got today. Alright, these things, these are the BC Racing DS series coilovers, custom coilovers if you will. These are for the S13, the Nissan 240 SX. It's 88, 89, something like that, 90, something other, 92. 93s. But 3 months I've been waiting on these things. I got them from Drift HQ. No, got them from LZ MFG actually. I got these things. I was getting in on that the red Chaser and see if I won anything with that, but I didn't win that. Obviously, or you'd already seen my Chaser. Got a couple of different things here, a few scattered items. You can see I got a couple of boxes in the back of me here. So this will be one where we've got a few things to look at. While we're right here, I'll go ahead and open some things here. And we've got a couple projects going still. What I got in this box is, let's say you got a T3 turbo flange and you got a T4 turbo. That's an adapter to go from T3 to T4, which I'm pretty sure it works the opposite way. It goes from T4 to T3. So if you got a T4 manifold and a T3 turbo, you can go either way with that. So that gives you that option. We'll take a closer look at that in a minute. So we got that jewel. And this thing is a supply line off of eBay. It's one of the cheaper eBay. It's got the fittings, and so this will be for the 2JZ to be a turbo supply line. So it has the fitting that goes onto the turbo. It's got the little square block that actually goes to the engine block itself, and then you have the supply line. This side will have to be what you call it, I don't know if it turns or not, but this side will have to be Tefloned, I'm pretty sure. And this side that goes, this is where it actually goes to that fitting. It's a compression fitting, so you won't have to Teflon it. Should be good. But it's got that fitting that goes on your turbo. It's got the bolts. It's got a gasket and a little distribution block to add your sensor to relocate your sensor. So it's got this block to relocate your sensor, and that way you can run that supply line to the back of where your sensor is on the back of your block. So we needed that for my son's car. And I had to have that. Let's see. This thing, I shouldn't really open it because it'll be everywhere, but just to show you what it is, on the S13, instead of welding up all the firewall, all the different holes on the firewall where all the different wires went and all that, I got, and they're still packaged, I got an assortment of the little plastic plugs. I was actually going to RTV or maybe a seam sealer of some kind, and put an RTV or seam sealer in like at the edge of the hole and get like a sheet metal plug and just put it on there and let it seal, or maybe even tack it on with a MIG welder or something, and grind it down and clean it up a little bit, and then go through when I sand everything down. That'll seal from the engine bay to the chassis to keep anything, we ever have a fire, heaven forbid, but if we ever have a fire or anything of that caliber, we don't have to worry about the flames coming into the car. So, but I think these will be okay by the time, if I find the corresponding size and hole and put it in there, and I go through and take a fine sandpaper and scuff the back of all of them, and I may even seam seal them. I don't think I have to. I think they'll clip in pretty good, and seam seal the any of the cracks and crevices in the rest of the chassis, and take a light sandpaper and just scuff everything up, even the back of these, and then spray it. As long as I don't have to take one of them back out because it'll damage the paint, but I can spray it and actually paint these to match. So we may do that, and that way, it's not noticeable, it doesn't stand out, and it'll work. So these are just plugs for the holes. I got 2 packs of them to try to fill in some of those voids in that. So I'll probably end up having to get a couple packs of them because that's an assorted size, but I don't really know what I need. So I didn't measure all of them. I just got some on the way, and we'll see what we come up with. And I don't know where the brake lines are going to have to go. I've got holes on both sides where the brake lines used to live. I don't know if I want to do anything any different. I may continue and just try to find a grommet that I can like slice and just kind of, that way I can put it through the hole it's supposed to go to. But we'll see once we get started. So I started to abandon that S13 project with the the new the new what you call it, IS300. And I was even just going to refund these and maybe get a different brand or get something, but BC come through, LZ, MFG, those guys. Even though I didn't win my chaser, I ended up getting coilovers in, and that's a good start. Let me get a better shot at these. Alright, so I got the injectors back in it. I got the ECU Masters Black tucked under there. I run the wiring underneath. I'm waiting on the centerpiece to tie that in for put the auto air control valve in it. And don't mind the wiring. All this was done to this car. I'm just not going to back up and change it because, I mean, I got that going on. So we're just going to tune this car and get it running, driving, and beat on this thing. So but I've got all that back together, injectors in, Plug's changed, and we're waiting on that one piece. Then we'll put a base map on and try to get this thing started. So that's where we're at. All right, here we go. All right, so I ended up having to pull the bottom runner off. I had to pull the whole intake, the bottom runner, and so that actually was the caps on the injectors were stuck in those holes. That's what was going on. So I had to pull that off and knock those completely, the caps, I couldn't get a hold of them and pull them back through. So I had to pull that runner off and get it away from the motor itself and knock them through, and them just fall out kind of out the back, not going into the cylinders, but coming out of the actual intake. So I had to do that. Then those little inserts, they actually worked. But I had to find O-rings, so the O-rings that came with it weren't exactly what I needed. So what it ended up being, it was the wrong injectors to start with. I needed the air gap injectors versus the ones I actually got. Both sets were that way. But that's okay. We did remedy it. You can see maybe you can see the insert. I don't know if you can see it or not, but the little inserts down in there and injectors on it. I use the factory fuel rail. The light fell over. One guy told me to, if I ever deal with that again, to just go ahead and buy the radium fuel rail, and I can get those little deals, I guess adapters or whatever you call them. Said they would come with that rail if I wanted them to. Maybe, I'm thinking that's what he said. Or I think they may have just come with it. I mean, they may come with it just by buying that. So either way, that's got that buttoned up. I've already got the spark plugs changed and gapped to 20. So this oil line, supply line to this turbo is kinked on both sides. So I'm probably going to pull that oil line and change it. So I'm supposed to be getting another one. I'm going to see if it's the same, and then if it is, I may just go ahead and change that before I put this thing the rest of it together. So, but all right, got the injectors in, plugs changed. Ready to put this back together, pretty close to it, and fuel pump. So, all right, here we go.
I'm feeling high. I'm feeling I'm feeling